This is FE Peer Review. The date is December the 12th, 2021. Bob Knodel and Globebusters Flat Earth Map. Put up or shut up. You owe it to your supporters. Bob Knodel, this is your conscience speaking. You and your colleagues at Globusters take money every month from people who worked for it. You've shown yourself to be good at that. You had no trouble raising $20,000 to buy a Ring laser gyroscope. You owe it to all those faithful supporters to do some work for that money yourself. So here's the problem. In your own words, quote, we have outright stated, and I stand behind the statement, that I believe that the AE map, the Gleason's AE map specifically, is probably still our best representation of the flat Earth.
We have outright stated, and I stand behind this statement, that I believe that the AE map, the Gleason's AE map specifically, is probably still our best representation of the flat Earth.
I got the previous clip from a video by Arctic Reflections, and I encourage you to check out his channel if you don't already know it. Now back to you, Bob. I believe you're a serious man, so if you're going to make a statement like that, one that can be so easily supported or debunked with just a little bit of work, and if you're going to take people's money, then I think you owe it to them. You have a moral obligation to them to do the work. Test your map. I know you claim it's not perfect, but if it, and I quote you, is probably still our best representation of the flat Earth, then it better be at least as good as the globe we had in my classroom in the 5th grade. So it's time, Bob, now. You've had years to do this. It's time to test your map. Of course, it's been tested by others many times in the past and shown to reasonable people to be extremely inaccurate. One approach has been to examine airplane flights south and north of the equator to see if equivalent lines of latitude were the same or different lengths. When it was found that flights were similar, you and other flat earthers argued that it must have something to do with wind currents or something like that, without providing any concrete evidence, but it was enough to put off having to face difficult questions. Well, here's the problem. You've got no excuse now, because you, Bob Knodel, can physically verify the accuracy of your map with only modest effort and expense. It will require that you do some work, but seeing as how many financial supporters you have, if you're the serious person you appear to be, you will be eager to back up your words with work and substance. So here's how you do it. You'll need a few friends, colleagues, or supporters to help. You're here in the USA, and I know you have colleagues in Australia, so it should be a simple matter to do the following. I've already done a bit of basic research to get you started. Here is a snippet from the best, highest resolution copy I could find of the Gleason AE map online. I've marked the two relevant portions. We've got a red line down here in the United States, and I will zoom in so you can see that a little better. It runs between Albuquerque and Memphis. And I've got a green line here in Australia. And I'll describe these two lines in more detail in a moment. And if we go back and look at the red line for the United States again, you'll see that I've made a copy of that same red line over here. I'm going to grab that line now and move it so you can see that it's exactly the same as the line crossing the United States between those two locations. And we will continue to move that red line over here to Australia. Now, if you've got any brains at all, and I know you do, Bob, you already see where I'm going with this. Here's my red line. A little difficult to see against that background. And I'm going to rotate it and put it next to the green line. So we've got about 1, 2, and a little bit. The green line's about 2 and a little bit more times longer than the red line. See where I'm going with this, Bob? Now, this doesn't require flight paths. This doesn't even require chartering a boat. My first thought when I had this idea was, well, you could do a boat trip from, across from New England over to Great Britain. And then you could do a boat trip from Australia to New Zealand. And you could do it the old-fashioned way and use a rope with knots. You know how they got the word knots for the speed of a boat? It was by tying knots in a long rope and using that to measure that rope out and measure the distance they were traveling over water. They crossed thousands of miles that way back in the 1700s, 1600s, using a knotted rope. No need for GPS or anything else. You could do a knotted rope on a boat, and you could measure distances across the water. But I'm going to make it easy for you. I've identified some locations where you can do this on land, in a car, in the comfort of your air-conditioned car. So, Bob, if you're going to promote that map you've got there and take money from supporters, then here's a very simple way you can actually show that that map is a half-decent representation of the Earth, or not. You can do this yourself. You don't need GPS, you don't need digital equipment, you don't even need $20,000 laser ring gyroscopes. You just need a car and a few days. Make a road trip out of it, have some fun along the way. It's probably a beautiful drive. I know northern New Mexico is. What it's going to involve is a road trip from Albuquerque to Memphis, Tennessee. We're looking at Google Earth here, and it gives us the red line, which is as the crow flies. And that distance is 937 miles. We'll look at the Google Maps in a moment. Google Maps gives a distance of 1,009 miles. So that's very nearly a straight line. It's just under 8% more than being a straight line when you take the road as Google Maps shows it. This is Google Maps. Here's the route on Google Maps from Albuquerque to Memphis. You drive that with your car. You use your odometer, which you've already checked and made sure it's accurate, and you will know the distance on the ground from Albuquerque to Memphis. Now, while you're doing that, your colleagues down in Australia, they're doing a similar road trip. Now, they're probably going to actually start out maybe in Sydney. Maybe you know somebody down in Sydney. They're going to make a little drive up to Dubbo. And then that's where they're going to start measuring. And from Dubbo, they're going to follow the road map, which we'll look at in a moment. And they're going to drive westward. And they're going to end in a little town on the ocean here called Seduna. They're actually going to need, they can stop measuring at this little bird called Murguinny. Gotta love those Australian names. And we'll take a look at Google Maps. This is their route on Google Maps. Now, by car, it's 1,005 miles, which is only 4 miles less than the Albuquerque-Memphis trip. So by car, it's almost exactly the same distance, within 4 miles. It's not quite as efficient a route as the Albuquerque-Memphis. It's about 16% more than a straight line. So you'll need to factor that in when you do your measurements and calculations, but you're a smart guy and I know you can figure that out. I'm not going to figure that out for you because you do need to do some of this work here. So that's the way you can do it, Bob. You've got a map you're promoting. You've got an idea you're promoting. You're supporting that idea with that map. You're telling the world it's the best representation we've got of the flat Earth at the present time. Now, I understand it's not. You're not claiming it's a perfect representation, and I'm not expecting you to, but I want to see that that thing is better than the globe we had in my classroom when I was, 10 years old? Yeah, 5th grade, whatever that is. Is it better than the classroom globe that we show our children? You show me. You get in your car, you drive from one town to the other, you note the odometer. You get some friends down in Australia to do the same, they note theirs. What do you find? Is the distance the same as it appears on Google Earth? You can easily figure that out. Or is the trip in Australia more than twice as far? That's your job. No wind currents to worry about, no ocean currents to worry about, just you in a car on a road having fun for a few days on a road trip. It's that easy, Bob. You've had years to do this and you have not yet done it. I can't imagine why. Well, folks, that's FE Peer Review. That's what he thinks about the subject. Wants to see Bob actually put some money where his mouth is. Will he or won't we? Are we taking bets? I'm not counting on it. Well, Bob, I hope lots of your supporters see this little video. I don't expect many will, but I will make sure to get it out there to them as they keep on sending you their hard-earned cash earned through hard work. Hard work. It takes work. You know, can't just grift forever. Have a nice day.